The British conquer the Dutch in 1902. The Dutch surrender, and the two Boer states are now part of the British Empire. The British, though, can't be done there. Something needs to happen now. So the British decide, it takes them 8 years to figure out what to do, but they decide to make the Union of South Africa, which is cool because that's USA, which I think is wonderfully hilarious. So the USA in Africa, the Union of South Africa, is going to be Transvaal, Orange Free State, Natal, and Cape Colony. So it'll have 4 provinces. It will elect a government. It's a parliamentary style government. And it will have a prime minister and a senate, and that's how they proceed. The first prime minister of South Africa, the Union of South Africa, was a guy named Louis Botha. He was a Boer War veteran. He was an Afrikaner. So, right, Dutch identity or a Dutch background, but now it's an Afrikaner identity. And so in a way, he's kind of the enemy. He's one of the guys that fought against the British. But in a way, this is amazing because by incorporating him in and giving him the status, the British have also legitimized the rule to a degree within. Union of South Africa, Botha rules for, was it 4 years? I want to say it was 4 years. He gets replaced by a guy named Jan Smuts. That party, that political party that's created there, is the South African Party, SAP. Jan Smuts was very similar to Botha in many ways, and they had kind of a connection in terms of ideology. Botha at one point did say one stream. So what he meant by one stream, a little fuzzy. Botha says one stream, the Afrikaner nationalists lose it a little bit. Because in their mind, there needs to be this distinction, this separation between the white population and the non-white population. And so one of the people in the South African Party, in fact, he was in Botha's government, his name is Hertzog, freaks out and he says, 2 streams. And he pisses off Botha, and eventually they end up in, I don't think he was in the government for more than 2 years. He ends up being thrown out of the government. He creates his own party called the National Party or the Nationalist Party. The Nationalist Party is exactly that. It's a nationalist party. It wants to promote especially Afrikaner interests, but it realizes it needs the English population on board, so it says white interests. That's its goal. After ruling South Africa for 14 years, the South African Party loses to Hertzog. So it goes Botha, Smuts, and then it goes Hertzog, and the Nationalist Party actually takes over. The Nationalist Party will actually end up ruling for 15 years. In that time period, they're trying to create a path towards creating a nationalist state. So when the Afrikaners are saying nationalist, this isn't Afrikaner patriotism, this is nationalism as a national socialist, right? The party that we call the Nazi Party was the National Socialist German Workers' Party. National is the first word, Nazi for short. So in other words, a nationalist is literally a Nazi. That's the inspiration for the Nazis. They just did it later than everybody else, right? Because I'm telling you, Hertzog is breaking away from the South Africa Party in the 1910s. So he's like beat Hitler by 20 years. Hertzog wins, takes over as prime minister, but he doesn't quite have enough support to fulfill his goals. Jan Smuts comes to him and says, hey, look, let's have a single party, let's work together. And they do it. And they merge the South Africa Party with the Nationalist Party, and it compromised. So instead of it being a far right-wing party and a center-right party, it becomes just sort of a right-wing party, like a moderate party. But it has a full bell curve on it, right? There's extremes on both sides. And that becomes the United Party while Hertzog is still prime minister. I don't remember, the last 4 years, something like that. He's in the United Party. And then he's replaced by Jan Smuts. Jan Smuts gets a second round as prime minister. But Jan Smuts was more like Louis Botha, one stream. He was one of those guys. So, as this is happening, a group of nationalists from the Nationalist Party refused to join the South African Party. They had when the South African Party and the Nationalist Party made the United Party, a bunch of them went, we're not joining the United Party, and they stayed separate. Now, a bunch of the United Party members in that were originally Nationalist Party begin to go back to the Nationalist Party. They basically break the two parties up. The South African Party never renames itself. It stays United Party, but the Nationalist Party is back. They run for office in 1948, and they elect Prime Minister Malan. Now things are gonna change. 1948 is the year where everything gets flipped upside down. Malan has as his goal apartheid. That is his stated objective. He is going to basically split the land of South Africa, and there will be a part that will go to the black population, and then the rest of it will go to the coloreds, the whites, and the Indians. So I have a cheat sheet because I thought about it before I came, and I was like, I might be able to get all the laws that go into effect, but I bet I can't. I definitely can't get the dates. So I got a cheat sheet so that I could have the laws by date so that I don't mess this up, because it's important to get things right. I make mistakes all the time, but this is too complicated, so I decided to bring in a cheat sheet. So the first real major step towards creating apartheid, by the way, apart. The hide part is like the state of being. So apartheid literally means the state of being apart. Like segregation, which the United States had already done. So in other words, Malan and the Nationalist Party, at some level, they're just copying what the United States has done with Jim Crow. So the first law that goes into effect is in 1949. It is the prohibition of mixed marriages. So the next one is, the next one I'm going to say, because again, I might not have it in the right order, for 1950. The Immorality Act. It made it so it was not just illegal to marry, that was the previous year, it was illegal to even have sex or relations with a person outside of your race. Then came the Popular Registration Act of 1950. At that point now, you have to classify yourself in one of the four racial categories. So the Group Acts area made it so that now legally you could have land designated as white land, land designated as black land, land designated as Indian land or colored land. And already in 1950, like they're not wasting any time. That Verwoerd, man, he got his work done when he started. Suppression of Communism Act, 1950. South Africa said, we are in the Cold War on the side of the United States and NATO, and we are going to help fight communism. And they passed a law called the Suppression of Communism Act. Its goal was to suppress communism. But that's not its real goal. If you criticize apartheid, you're a communist. It was a way to eliminate any criticism of apartheid by everybody, whites and everybody else who might want to criticize it. You just be classified as a communist, and it was illegal to be a communist, so you could go to prison. Prevention of Illegal Squatting Act comes the next year, 1951. So now that you have land designated as one race or another, the Prevention of Illegal Squatting Act allows the government to go in and ethnically cleanse. Oh no, this is a white designated area. Your little black village can't be here, and you'll be picked up and moved. Bantu Authorities Act, 1951. What happens is the Bantu Authorities Act of 1951 says that the Bantu population in South Africa will have the right to some measure of national self-determination. That there's going to be a legal system for the Bantu that's separate from the legal system for whites. So the next one that I want to do is the Native Laws Act of 1952. So this made it, 1952, this made it so that if you were black, you had to carry a pass with you. Then there's the Reservation of Separate Amenities Act in 1953. As if they haven't established this yet, they make it into law in 53. So we're talking 3 years by the point we're at this law. What it does is it makes it so that don't even pretend, they go in straight for the reservation of separate amenities law, actually allowing you to not have equal amenities. So they codify it in that, okay, yeah, blacks can have inferior amenities. They should still get amenities, it's just maybe the water fountain doesn't work. And of course, by this point, they've designated, like, this is a white-only beach. This is a white-only bench. This is a white-only store, right? This is a white-only neighborhood. They've already gone through and done all that by the time they get to, and it's totally okay that these are unequal amenities. Then they do the Bantu Education Act of 1953. So Education Act, as part of this, one of the things that the Afrikaners wanted to do was introduce Afrikaans into the classroom. They're not quite ready to pull it off just yet, but that's the direction they're trying to head into. In 1956, they pass the Native Administration Act. 1956, they call it the Native Administration Act. It gives the government of South Africa the right, the power, the ability to banish black people from South Africa.